Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. What are we going to talk about today? Found the YouTube stream, but it's not highlighted to the channel, so I can click your avatar to get to the live. That's interesting. All right, folks, welcome aboard. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the landslide election that we must have this year. We're going to talk about also how to get around the crappa that Donald Trump will try to do to molest the election, if you will. Notice I use the word molest because that's about all they can do, right? That's all they can do. Anyway, it's Friday, and you know what? I need a break, and you know what? I am not going to take a break. I'm going to use Saturday and Sunday to catch up on some writing that I don't have. I'm putting a book together, and I'm really trying like hell to get it out in the next few weeks. I'm trying. I'm getting there. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you. I want to talk a little bit about, I don't know, but I listen to the media. I listen to senators. I listen to the Congress people, and I listen to all of them talk as if, Donald Trump is a god. Because even as they disagree with him on Greenland, even as they disagree with him on Venezuela, even as they disagree with him on blowing up ships, they act as if this guy is omnipotent and has all the power. And because they've ceded it to him, he goes ahead and he continues to do these things. I sit down and I watch Congress people say, what is he going to do next? As if we are in a monarchy. What is Trump going to do next? Is the rest of this government dependent on one crazy person? Is it true that this one crazy person can take us down completely to the drain and everybody sit back and watch? I want you to think about this. Why do we just hear people sit down and what is he going to do next? We make him not do something next. We make him understand that doing something next is fatal to his presidency. I sit back and wonder why we are such weenies. And I'm not talking about you, the people that are listening. I'm talking about the people we've elected. Why are they such weenies? Is MAGA the majority of this country? Not even close. Not even a good 20% are strong in that domain. Yeah, we may have 33, 44% of the folk that voted for Trump, but that's it. Why are, the timid, the parts of the world that I come from, we fight, right? Things may not go right, and the United States may use its boot to get things under control. But my God, we don't sit up to a God. And you know what is so funny is I have never seen anybody do what Donald Trump has done because they had restraints in their heads. But you know what Donald Trump is showing if we don't get our act together? Donald Trump is actually showing that we are so weak that if a president decides to do certain things, he can, because you're not going to do anything about it. There's a lot of things Biden, Obama, Bush, Reagan would have liked to do that they didn't do overtly. And why didn't they do it? Well, they didn't do it because they were scared of what the American reaction would be. But Donald Trump went ahead and said, to hell with it. I'm going to do it. Let's see what happens. And you know what happens? We kind of didn't like how we handled how we got a lot of people in the world killed from the pandemic. But then again, he started with his pomposity and verbosity and all of that, and we elected him again because some of us just had to stay home because we were mad. We were mad. We weren't going to elect a woman, albeit especially a black woman. We weren't going to elect somebody unless they fit the perfect profile. We were going to find any excuse not to have voted for that woman. We did the same with Hillary. The difference is that at least Hillary got the majority of the vote. We were going to find something about her pantsuit. We're going to find something about her votes. I am not a Hillary fan. I am not even necessarily a strong Kamala fan, even though I strongly supported her. But you know who I am. I am a real progressive. I am a Bernie guy. Okay? That's who I am. What are you talking about, E2247, my brother, about what we talk about? Please tell me. I don't know if I'm on the same wavelength with you. Anyway, welcome aboard, Bobby K, Edmund Bertrand, Arlen Fucillo, GN, Rule of Laws, Vicky Parker, Paulette Burkitt, Joe from California. We have Kat, Robin Morrison. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita, AVQ, Brooklyn, New York. We also have in the house Michael, Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Atascocita, and my brother from another mother, Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. Let's see, who am I missing? Lisa Blair, that is Atlanta, Georgia. Bruce says, if we are peaceful, what will declaring an insurrection do? I don't know. Insurrection means he goes ahead, and when we go to the voting booth, he'll have a lot of military out there to scare some people. You know, let me tell you how a lot of Latinos are going to feel. First of all, Latinos done screwed up this last election because somehow they believe that Donald Trump would be, look, let me tell you something. Yo soy Latino, okay? Pero yo soy Latino negro. Let me tell you something about Latinos. The same prejudices that occur within the United States of America proper are the same prejudices that occur within the Latino community. Okay, let me just put that there. There's no Latino community. Latino just means we came from Spanish-speaking countries, or we can speak Spanish, or we are descendants of people who speak Spanish, etc. Okay, let's be very clear here. Let's be very, very clear here. So a particular set of Latinos, because of who they wanted to be adjacent to, and all of you, my progressives, know what I'm talking about, saw some light, some rationale, some reasons not to support Kamala Harris, and jumped into the bandwagon with Donald Trump. The Cubans are finding out now that Donald Trump just wanted their vote in order to then kick him out. The Venezolanos are finding that out because he's now deporting them. Los Mexicanos always knew that, but still, that thing about approximation, that thing about hating yourself. If you take a look at a lot of the ICE agents right now, a lot of them are Latinos. Some are even black. It shows you what that syndrome can do to one. That when it comes to hurting people, sometimes one will suffice with proximity. But proximity never buys you actuality. Proximity never buys you actuality. And that is something folks should try to learn sooner than later. Something people should try to learn. Machismo, according to Lauda, which is actually true as well, that is also true. Minneapolis is under siege. There are right-wing extremists missing there, along with 2,000 plus ICE agents, with more on the way. 2 shootings in 1 week, and more threatened. Yeah, they are going to try to instigate something to make militarization possible, and it's likely going to happen. I actually think if you listen to Stephen Miller, they are in the process of declaring martial law in Minneapolis. I have no doubt. Well, actually, I shouldn't say I have no doubt. That's what I think is going to happen. Check out the Milgram study. Actually, that is exactly what I'm talking about. You got it, Bruce. I couldn't remember the Milgram study name. Yep. People will inflict hurt and harm on others. You're so right, my brother. Michael, it says conservative Latinos bought Trump's lies that he was only going after violent migrants, not wanting to hear that he wanted to do mass deportation. He's trying to whiteify the nation. That's why the way they're hiring using the white supremacist terminology. In fact, I think in their opinion, there just may be too many Latinos getting that big job. There just may be too many Latinos accepting the job. But don't worry, Stephen Miller. Those Latinos that are accepting the jobs, those black folks that are accepting the job, they will be as loyal to you, if not more loyal, than white folks. My beautiful progressive white folk, they will be more, those black and Latinos are going to be a lot more loyal to you than my brother here, Bruce Pollard. My white brother, Bruce Pollard, right, Bruce? Look, you got to understand, race is a stupid thing that makes no sense. It's a mental disorder. It's a mental disorder. And those Latinos and black folks and Asians and whatever that are going out there to work with ICE, they inside of themselves, they are Stephen Miller. Remember that, please. They are Stephen Miller. And they will be more loyal to Stephen Miller than my brother here, Bruce Pollard, will be. Okay? Your show today is fighting with Grubhub? Really? Oh my God. Come on, bring my Grubhub people over here too, man. Come on, Grubhub. Come on over here. Come on over here. Anyhow, let's Mike, this time is not the best time for my program, actually. I've been thinking about changing it, but anytime I say that, people go berserk and they stop me from doing it. They tell me I can't do it, and you guys run the show. Anyway, I need to load up. I forgot I didn't load up my videos, so I'm loading it up as I speak. I'm loading it up. Let me get to my clips. So I can load her up, and my clips are loaded. Now it is time to get the connections to the appropriate channels, which I am doing as we speaketh. Where are those channels? Democracy Docket. There we go. That's one. And the second channel is for Democrats poised to win in a landslide. That one is complete as well. All right. Why does PDR use what you just said is stupid? Let's see. Why does PDR use what you just said is stupid? What are you saying, Leader Bearcat? I don't understand what that means. Okay. Harry Denson says the word Latino actually comes from the word Latium, which is Italy. Yep. All right, folks. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Bruce says a landmark experiment in social psychology demonstrating ordinary people's willingness to obey authority figures even when ordered to inflict apparent harm on others, revealing powerful situational influences on behavior, with 65% of participants administering the maximum 450-volt shot despite the learner's stimulated distress. It's shame. It is a shame. Why does PDR use what you just said? It's stupid. It is. All right. Let's see. Don says the Latinos and blacks might just be our eyes and ears inside the white supremacist machine. No, they're not. I wish, hey, Don, I wish that was the case. I honestly wish that was the case, but I know better. It is just like, people always used to say, we need to integrate the police department, right? And look, most cops or a lot of cops are good. Let me be clear about that. In fact, when I had a good experience with one, I wrote up about it. I blogged about it. I put it on KPFT, and that particular cop got a commendation, a certificate of commendation, because of what I did on the radio with him, because I was so impressed with that cop. But let me tell you a little dirty secret. When people say, oh, integrate the police or get more Latinos and more blacks on the police force and all of that, which they should do, but they shouldn't get any Latino or any black or any white on the police force, right? Because let me tell you, a lot of the Latinos and black folk on the police force treat black and Latino folks much worse than my white brothers and sisters. It is amazing. And all of that comes from wanting to show I am one of you. Okay? I am one of you. So my thing is, we should, when we populating police departments and all these other departments, don't look at the race absolutely. Make it look like the community, but not any and anybody is good. If you take a look at what happened in, I think it was Memphis, Tennessee, I have never seen a beating of a young man that did absolutely nothing. And you had 5 black officers beat the holy hell out of that kid, you know? So, I mean, I'm very honest when I deal with our stupid issues, racial issues. Race is stupid. I repeat, race is stupid. Race is stupid. But let's be honest. Let's be very honest about it. I had never seen a beating like they did when they murdered that kid. 5 black officers murdered that kid. Okay, murdered that kid. I mean, so let's be clear here. All right, let's go. Somebody's calling in. All right, who do I have the honor of speaking with?
My name is Bobby.
Come on in, Bobby. Talk to me.
But we had our insurance meeting today, and I just wanted to tell you how that went.
Please tell me. I'm curious.
Yeah, normally they used to give us like an option between different plans, but right now it's just like they only gave us one option, and it's basically a high deductible plan. I think it's $5,000 deductible with a maximum out of pocket of $7,500. But the reason I wanted to tell you, I think the actual cost is like $500 or something per employee. Uh-huh. But I work for a small engineering company. I think we have maybe 50 employees. Mm-hmm. But the owner, his name's Saeed. He's actually from Iraq originally, but he's lived I guess most of his life here in the States now. He's already older. He's like 80. He's been doing this for a long time, by the way. Our biweekly payment is going to be $33 for insurance, and he's going to cover the rest. And he puts in $150 a month into each of our HSA accounts. So he's basically putting like $300,000 for our insurance, and then also on top of that, putting in $150 into each of the HSA accounts. So I just thought that was
that is excellent.
I wish more business owners. Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
He's been doing that for a long time also.
I mean, I don't know if this guy would like to be publicized or what, but I would love to speak to your boss and give your boss what a reputable corporation does in a horrendously terrible insurance place. There are good corporations and there are bad corporations, and your boss in doing what really he's doing. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that is honorable. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice. I mean, he's been doing that, but because I was going to be on my wife's insurance, and it was going to cost us, $600. It was going to cost me maybe $600, or I don't know. She works for a hospital district. It wasn't going to be too crazy high, but with him now, that it's going to work out okay if I think I'm with him. Plus, if I was with her, then we have to pay double deductibles, because it's like a family thing. But
that
also,
is great.
He's really strange. I was going to say, because I think we're also one of the only companies that doesn't get paid time and a half, and the state knows about it. If we work over 40 hours, we don't get paid time and a half, but we rarely work time and a half. And to compensate for that, because we work outside, anytime it rains and they have to send us home. So anytime it's raining in Houston all day, we still get paid 8 hours. And so it actually came out to our benefit.
Well, let me just say this. I can't speak on the labor portion of that. That is for another day. I want to speak on the insurance part here. I want to forewarn you of something though. Okay. First of all, very good that your boss isolated you from the increase in cost of healthcare, but he is absorbing that increase in cost in healthcare. I commend him for doing that. As a corporation, that is coming out of the bottom line. I don't know if the corporation is a private corporation or if it's a public corporation or not. Do you know?
Right. It's EMI Health is who we're going with this year. I guess they're like an intermediary between.
Oh, no. I mean your company. Your company. Is your company a private corporation or is it a public corporation? I mean the company you work for.
It's private. It's a private company.
Excellent. Yeah. Let me just say this.
He's been doing that. He was putting in 180 a month last year, but he went down to 150. But also because he's absorbed higher, like you said, he's absorbed higher costs.
Right. I no matter what, he didn't have to do that. I commend him for doing that. And let me tell you even better. The bad part about this is the following. Had your boss not had to pay that, let's say he's paying $467 per employee per month in healthcare, he would likely had given you maybe a $300 per month raise. Okay. So I am saying that on his part, he did the magnanimous thing. On the insurance company part and on the part of our country, the United States of America, we have failed you. because you're earning.
About a year ago, after all these price increases, he gave everybody I think I got $3 or $4. All of a sudden, out of the blue, boom! I was like, whoa! I wasn't even expecting it.
But think about it. You would have gotten more had he had.
Yeah. So anyway, I think he's doing a really good job as an example.
I commend him
as a small business owner.
Yeah, I commend your
anyway,
boss.
I just wanted to share a positive story with you.
That's a great story. That is a great story. And for those that are listening,
you know what, Alberto?
Talk to me.
I got one more thing. During the meeting, because they were talking about the prices, and I was sitting in the back with the owner's son. Because regardless, I was like, during the meeting, I mentioned, because they're like, all these prices. They were talking about how the prices were just getting out of control, and I basically said, I think we should have Medicaid for all, universal Medicaid. And you should have seen those ladies' faces. And then I was like, well, we pay enough taxes for it. I'm just saying. Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Ladies, they didn't like hearing. My friend later on, they didn't like hearing that at all.
You know what? The thing about it is you're educated, brother. You don't have to worry about that. You're educated. They're not. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bobby.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a good one. Take care. All right, folks. Medicare for all is what we must have. You're right about that. I think I saw something from E2247. Also, indigenous tribal language speaking nation persons in North and South Dakota are being rounded up by ICE and shipped to Minneapolis for possible deportation. Deportation to where? This is their land. I didn't know about that one, so I can't speak intelligently about it, E2247. Of course, if you'd like to call and tell me more about it, or just let me research it so that I can have something intelligent to tell you guys, I'll do that. Oh my God, that is crazy. Rounding up indigenous people and deporting them to where? That is funny. That is funny. Patrick says, good point. The employer could have invested into business or given larger raises if he did not have to pay for the insurance. Yeah, that's why we need Medicare for all. That is why we need Medicare for all. Paul Fleming says, when asked how to combat rising grocery prices, former Trump econ advisor blames Americans for overeating and consuming too many calories. Not only did they do that, they also gave you a plate of food that says a piece of chicken, a tortilla, a piece of broccoli, and a candy. Hey guys, I'm not making this stuff up. Anyway, let's set up the first video. Let me just say, I want all of you that are listening to me right now to not be concerned about whether we're going to win in 2026. I want you to command a win in 2026 because all the numbers are there where the progressives and Democrats should win, must win in 2026. And if all of us do our job, if all of us, first of all, the main part of the job is to educate. The second part of the job is what I've constantly told all of us, and that is 8 weeks before the election, we must verify that we are registered to vote, and we must do that every single week until 30 days before the election, or I should say 32 days before the election. No matter what, we check 32 days before the election, make sure that we are registered to vote, and we film that we're registered to vote. And after filming that we're registered, filming your screen to show that you were registered to vote, and you keep doing that weekly, even 30 days in. And if any of those days you notice that you're no longer registered to vote, you're doing this on a weekly basis, you report it right away, and you also come to the media, including myself. You tell us, between this week and this other week, my name was removed from the rolls, and we'll make that known. And if they are starting to do that, it'll be a mass thing that occurs right away, and it will have to be fixed right away. But we have to catch it in time. That's why I'm saying we got to do that. But like I said, they're going to try everything not to have us win the election. But you know what? Lucky for us, we have somebody that is also given marching orders, and that's in a person named Marc Elias. And I want you to listen to what he had to say recently.
Marc Elias, I start with you on that Reuters reporting about Donald Trump I don't know, maybe suddenly tuning into the trend of off-year elections not going the way of a president's party.
Yeah, this is getting worse, and it's going to get worse from here. The fact is, in 2020, Donald Trump tried to overturn the results of a free and fair election by going to court and then by inciting a violent mob to storm the Capitol. In 2022, you recall he backed all these election denier candidates. They didn't do well, but we saw at the local level some counties refused to certify. In 2024, he tried everything he could to get in place election deniers and build in an ability of them to not certify accurate election results. So far this year, this is what we've got, or this election cycle, this is what we've got. Number one, he has tried to pass executive orders limiting the ways in which states can allow voting. Number two, he's got his Department of Justice suing 24 states in the District of Columbia. By the way, they lost their first case today. My law firm and I, representing the NAACP and others, defeated them in California. So they're now 0 for 1. We'll see how the next 23 cases go. But in August, he said that he believes the states act as his agents. That's his word. States act as his agents for the counting and tabulating of votes. Then 2 weeks ago, he told the New York Times that he wished he had seized the ballot boxes, had the National Guard seize the ballot boxes in 2020. And today he is questioning why we're even having midterm elections. This is directionally all going in the same place. We're going to have elections because Donald Trump can't cancel them. But it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because he can't. We are going to have counting of ballots by states, not because Donald Trump wants to, but because states will have possession of the ballots. But that isn't the beginning or the end of the story. He is going to do everything he can to use the Department of Justice, his paramilitary forces, and God help us, God willing not, but potentially the U.S. military, to make it very hard for people to vote and very easy for him and his folks to cheat. So everyone who cares about democracy needs to be focused on these midterm elections, needs to take him literally and seriously, and needs to be doing everything they can in the court of public opinion, in the court of law, and in their local communities to prevent this from happening.
What does that look like? What does it look like to do everything that we can? What can people do?
Yeah. So number one, I'd ask the lawyers and the business community, what are you guys doing? In 2017, we saw when Donald Trump was preventing people from coming into this country, we saw big law firms all over the airports. When there was child separation policies, we saw big law firms involved. Why aren't the big law firms involved in Minneapolis? Why aren't the big law firms? Those 24 cases I mentioned that my small law firm, my 60-person law firm, we're up against DOJ in all of them. You know how many cases we have a big law firm also involved? Zero. Zero. And so we need the law firms and we need the business community to be engaged in this. In terms of individual citizens, Donald Trump gets away with this crap when no one is paying attention. He hopes that he will bury this stuff in an avalanche of news. And we need all to be calling this out. We need everybody to be pressuring their local elected officials, their county leaders who run these elections, to make sure they are pressure tested and ready to go. And we cannot let this happen in darkness.
He nails it. And remember what I said before we started about what everybody needs to do about making sure they're registered to vote. But you have another task. I believe in blue cities and in blue states, Donald Trump is going to try to create, to pass the Insurrection Act in these places with military guys and guys in camouflages in voting areas. And what they're going to want to do then is use that to intimidate people that look different. Even if they're American citizens, they don't want to be dragged off or anything like that. So what we also have to do, for the sake of voting, to my people that are of some sort of pigmentation, do have your passport if you have one. Do have your birth certificate if you have one. We shouldn't have to do this, but for winning this election in a landslide, our sensible Latino, any foreign sounding looking folk, whatever, they have your stuff ready and go there to vote. And to my white brothers and sisters, this is where you have to be allies. This is where you must be allies. And go and vote in groups. Go together with your neighbors. Go vote in groups. This must be a transformative election. I am not talking a 50+1 type victory. I'm talking a landslide to no order, and all the footprints are there to do it. It's whether all of us work towards getting it done, and we can do it. So let's start getting busy. All right. Anyway, hey, my good friend Dana Dubois. I like to say that name, Dana Dubois, from the whatever. I always forget the name of your show. We talk about whatever show. Just was on your show a few days ago. Love the program. In fact, I was on today. Today you had a great guest as well. You had a great guest. Anyhow, thank you for being here, my dear, beautiful Dana Dubois, the Daily Whatever Show. I knew it had whatever in it. The Daily Whatever Show. Folks, go check out the Daily Whatever Show. It's on every single day, every weekday. And it also comes on Saturdays. Check it out. Go to just search Dana Dubois in the in Substack, and you'll find it. Great show. Love the show. Anyway, we have some more videos, but before we go to the videos, I got to come on with something else because I saw something from Brother Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Lee the Bearcat said the following. He said, wait a minute to Patrick, that employer, Bobby's employer did invest in its people by spending the money, right, to get keep their insurance low. That employer did that. Kudos to the employee, and yes, he directly invested in the well-being of his employees. But what he did maximally was transfer the potential wealth of that employee to the rich shareholders of these insurance companies who do nothing. So, my brother Lee the Bearcat, I understand what you're saying, but the premise is absolutely wrong. It is time for us to get rid of private health insurance. They serve no legitimate purpose in our healthcare system. Zero, zilch, nada. If I asked you to pay my bills for me, if I said, hey, Lee the Bearcat, or if you asked me to pay your bills, hey, Lee the Bearcat says, Egberto, I want you to do me a favor. I'm going to give you the money and you pay my bills for me. And I said, okay. And you said, Egberto, I have $1,000 of bills every month. And I said, okay, for me to pay your bills every month, you got to give me $1.20-something. So therefore, when that $1,000, you got to give me $1,250, and then I'll pay your $1,000 in bill. You will ask me if I'm going bananas. You'll say, look, Egberto, I'll give you $25 to take care of my bills for me. I'll pay you that as a salary, take care of my bills. I ain't giving you no 18-20% to pay the bill. That's what insurance is. You are transferring your wealth to somebody else to pay a bill. And there is absolutely no intelligence in paying a bill, right? They'll say, well, as insurance companies, we manage risks. There is no risk to manage unless you're trying to take people's money. You don't manage. If you had one pool, there would be no risk to manage. There would be just one pool of people. That's why we want single payer healthcare. One pool. And by the way, Lee the Bearcat, you don't pay all your own bills. You have an insurance company, don't you? Your insurance company pays your healthcare bills. Your insurance company pays your bill if you get into a wreck. No, understand the concept, my brother. Understand the concept. You are paying that insurance so somebody pays the bill. That's how it works. All right, so we need to get rid of private health insurance and go ahead and have a single payer system like Medicare, not Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is a fraud. We want Medicare. All right, I got another video. This video here, I just cut it as well. This should give the impetus to all progressives and Democrats to go out there and work, because everything is there for the landslide. It's in the numbers, and the Cook Political Report had some great news for all Democrats, all progressives today. Check it out.
The 2026 midterms could be House Democrats to lose 10 months out from the election. The Cook Political Report released a new rating of competitive seats and shifted 18 House races toward Democrats, 8 of them moving out of the likely Democrat column to solid blue, another 10 races shifting toward Democrats, leaving Republicans with fewer toss-up races. All right, joining us, Cook Political Report senior editor and elections analyst Dave Wasserman. All right, lay it out for me.
So right now, we have 211 races that at least lean towards the Democrats, lean likely or solid D. We have 206 races that at least lean to the Republicans, and then 18 toss-ups. What that means is that Republicans, in our view, would need to win 2/3 of the toss-up column to hold their House majority, which isn't impossible. But Democrats are clear favorites at this point for the House. And we've known this for a while, but where these races fall in relation to each other, we've had extensive conversations with strategists and ad makers and pollsters and candidates from both parties to assess how these races are moving. And what we've seen is weakness for Republican incumbents in these single-digit Trump districts. Keep in mind, there are about 15 seats that Republicans hold that Donald Trump carried by less than 5 points. And a lot of these contests feature Democrats who have national security backgrounds similar to 2018. And we believe that redistricting is not going to safeguard the Republican majority to the extent the party had hoped.
What's driving this move? Is there a single policy or a single event that's forcing voters to rethink their positions?
It comes down to President Trump's standing with independent voters in particular, but also Democrats' enthusiasm advantage. And a couple of the races that moved in these latest ratings feature large Hispanic populations. For example, Texas's 34th district, Vicente Gonzalez, California's 13th district in the Central Valley, Adam Gray. What we've seen nationally is Donald Trump carried about 48% of the Hispanic vote in 2024, but according to our poll tracker, his approval rating among Hispanic voters is 35%. That's almost double the erosion in support we've seen for Trump among other voters. Among independents, Trump won about 48% of self-ID'd independents in 2024. According to our poll tracker, he sits at 30%. This is consistent with the type of advantage for Democrats that we saw in 2018. We've seen it in special elections like Tennessee 7, which featured a 13-point swing towards the Democrats from 2024. Democrats only need a fraction of that swing to retake the House majority this time. I'd say the warning sign, though, for Democrats is money. They don't have nearly the money advantage that they had 8 years ago during Trump's first term.
The 2026 midterms could be House Democrats.
Okay. I kind of was doing a little bit of, wanted to get some stuff here. We have Vicky in the chat. Oh, beforehand, let me just say. So yes, be ready for that landslide. That landslide is coming if we do our job. And when that landslide comes, folks, and we take back government, it's going to be a hard task. It's easy to destroy. It's harder to rebuild. It is so easy to destroy. It's so much harder to rebuild. But let me tell you, other than rebuilding, what we must do. The leaders that put this country on a straight path, they must pay a price. I'm not talking about the sycophants. I'm not talking about those who were fooled, because over the years, we have made the country less smart because of the Powell memo. After the country was getting very smart, the Powell memo reversed all of that. Okay? So we are going to have a lot of rebuilding to do. We're going to have a lot of re-educating to do. We're going to have a lot of, I don't want to call it retribution, but we must ensure that those who profited from this disaster pay the price, so that anybody trying to do this again, what Donald Trump and his ilk has done, think twice before doing it. We are paying the price for being lenient with the insurrectionists. We are paying the price for being lenient with Donald Trump as he did his stupidity. We can't ever be lenient again. Not with the people, but with the leaders who were responsible for destroying these people's lives. All right. Vicky got to me in the chat. And once she said, I am from UK and US, I've been in both systems. I really wanted to hear what she had to say, but since she hasn't called in yet, I don't know if she'll call in. I want to tell you something about the NHS. When the NHS was formed, I don't know if you remember the Olympics that they had in when the Olympics that they had in England was all about a tribute to the NHS, one of the bastions of healthcare for some time, not so much as it was now. And I want to do a little bit of reading of something I just decided to research on the fly, because I've been watching how they have been in a very strategic way privatizing the UK healthcare, the NHS, even though it's a public thing that everybody gets in. The back end, where the money is spent, is done with a lot of private companies, which then reduces its effectiveness, because now a lot of that money that went into healthcare is now going into the pockets of the corporations. It's just like what they're doing with Medicare. Medicare was let's say equivalent to the NHS, the National Health System in the UK. Not quite, because Medicare still had that 20%. But let's say Medicare was 100%. It would be equivalent to the NHS. What the United States government is doing with Medicare Advantage right now, what they're doing with Medicare Advantage is the future of the NHS. If the people in the UK don't get their act together and make sure that this right-wing evil doesn't metastasize the cancer in their society. NHS was a wonderful thing at one time. Let me just read this for you real quick. Privatization has not arrived at Britain's National Health Service with a single dramatic vote or a formal sell-off. It has advanced quietly, contract by contract, policy by policy, reshaping a public institution that once stood as a global symbol of solidarity into a fragmented system increasingly shaped by market logic. The market in healthcare is a failure, and the people of the UK, if they don't protect themselves, are going to find out sooner than later. The damage is not theoretical. It is measurable in longer waiting lists, higher costs, demoralized staff, and growing inequality in access of care. At its founding in 1948, the National Health Service rested on a simple moral principle: healthcare as a right, not a commodity. Care could be free at the point of use, not free service. Were you free at the point of use, publicly planned and publicly delivered? Privatization undermines each pillar of that promise. One of the most corrosive mechanism has been outsourcing. Successive governments have expanded the use of private companies to deliver NHS-funded services, from diagnostic testing and elective surgeries to mental health care and community services. In other words, the tax dollars from the British people that normally would go to a doctor hired by the British services, or the x-ray machines that were owned by the British people, are now outsourced to private companies who are paid in other words, all the British government, instead of having the assets in the x-ray machines, having the assets in all the diagnostic tools, they've outsourced that to private companies, and they're just rentiering that to the private companies. It's corrosive, as the article says here. One of the most corrosive mechanisms is that outsourcing. All right. Continuing. From diagnostic testing and elective surgeries to mental health care and community service. Proponents framed outsourcing as a way to reduce waiting times and inject efficiency. In practice, it siphons public funds into shareholder profits while leaving the NHS to handle the most complex, risky, and expensive cases, just like they do in Medicare. Private providers cherry-pick profitable treatments while underfunded NHS hospitals absorb emergencies, chronic illnesses, and social care failures. The model drives up costs rather than reducing them. Private firms must extract profit, pay executive salaries, and other marketing and legal expenses. Costs a public system does not have. Studies by the UK's National Audit Office and independent health economists repeatedly show that outsourcing rarely delivers long-term savings. Instead, it locks the NHS into expensive contracts that are difficult to unwind, draining money that could have gone to staffing equipment. Are you still here with us, Vicky? This is what's happening. Fragmentation is another hidden cost. Privatization breaks the NHS into a maze of contracts, providers, and subcontractors. What we see with our insurance companies, where every doctor must say, do you take that insurance? No. Do you take that insurance? No. And they have to hire people for this fragmentation. Clinicians spend more time navigating bureaucracies, referrals, and billing rules, while patients face confusing pathways and delayed care in integrated planning essential for managing chronic illnesses, aging population, and mental health. Staffing crises are directly tied to this marketization. Again, the market is killing the NHS. I repeat, the market is killing the NHS. Private providers often rely on NHS-trained workers, often short-term contracts or higher pay without contributing to the long-term workforce. In other words, we train the doctors, we train all the clinicians, we train the nurses, and then the private sector comes in and say, okay, you're trained, come work for us. We give you a better salary, and then we suck it to the taxpayer. They pay to educate you. They pay to train you. We get the benefit, and then that excess profit goes to the shareholder. You see how it works? Privatization also widens inequality. As NHS waiting lists grow, those who can afford it turn to private insurance and self-pay options, sometimes provided by the very companies contracted by the NHS. So you see, they are paid to destroy the system, and after the system is destroyed, then they say, hey, the private sector is better. The private sector is better. Mira, mi gente, tenemos que entender esta cosa. Esta vaina lo tenemos que entender. We got to understand this stuff, man. That's why we're here learning together, so that you can get the crap that these people do, what the private sector does to us all, what capitalism does. The ideological shift matters as much as the financial one. When policymakers treat healthcare like a market, patients become consumers, illnesses become a revenue stream, and efficiency is defined narrowly at cost cutting rather than health outcomes. Preventative care, public health, and community service areas with enormous social returns but limited profits suffer first. That's why they don't have a cure for lupus yet. Enough people don't get it. It's not market profitable. And when they do find something, it costs an arm and a leg. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed the weaknesses brutally, from failed private testing contracts to shortages caused by hollowed out public policy. You know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, that explains it. I want to show you another fallacy. I want to show you the brainwashing that occurs in our country. And I'm going to use my friend from Austin, Lee DeBeercat, to show you, because he's delusional. Here's what he says. The private sector better at space, NASA and government too expensive. That's false. Completely false. I worked for NASA. I can tell you how things worked at NASA. NASA paid for the discoveries. NASA did the hard work. NASA did the heavy lifting. The private companies then came and used the technology developed by the NASA, by our taxpayer dollars, and then you say they're more efficient? No. NASA did the expensive portions of this work. NASA developed the technologies needed. How brainwashed can we be, folks? How brainwashed? We at NASA, and by the way, I worked for Ford Aerospace, Lockheed, and Planning Research Corporation when I was at NASA. And I can tell you, NASA is all these technologies. Let's give an example. We sent a man to the moon with the Apollo project. I worked on the space station project. In fact, the TIFA module that was, I don't know if they still use it, I wrote that. It was a TCP/IP module. This deal here, the shuttle worked on equipment that is thousands of times less powerful than this cell phone. We did it. The space station, we did it. Not the private sector. The private sector was hired to do certain parts of it. But let me tell you, it's the American people that funded it. And what we have out of Musk and those guys are parasites. These parasites. Look, Musk couldn't even get the damn thing lifted off into space until many other tries. We did that. The Saturn V rocket, the most powerful rocket ever made then. That is what we did. When you talk about SpaceX and all of this, they have much more powerful computers and they still are blowing up rockets. Whatever happened to finite element analysis to prevent them from blowing this crap up? Again, when ignorance is a bad thing, Leader Bearcat, and what you displayed with that statement is a severe case of ignorance, complete ignorance, not understanding how technology works, who created it, and its genesis. Every drug on the market today, its genesis is a taxpayer, not the private sector. Every drug on the market today, absolutely every single drug on the market had its genesis from the taxpayer, not the private sector. The private sector does not take risks. Understand that. They do not take risks. They take calculated risk when something has a high probability of success. But we, the people, your tax dollars, your government, we go ahead and we just throw into it because we want to discover things and then unleash it to the private sector. And then the private sector screws us. Not the private sector, capitalism then screws us. Educate oneself, my brothers and sisters. Leader Bearcat, I hope that was informative. And by the way, don't take what I'm saying at face value. Look it up. It's not too hard to find. Madre mia, carajo, pinga, hueputa. All right. Now, we're at 58. I'm out of time. Egberto, we blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki and we put men on the moon using slide rules. Who the hell needs an iPhone? There you go. And the funny thing about it is this, E2247, Musk have the best supercomputers, and he still has to crash rockets before they take off. And by the way, supercomputers can do some great simulation, finite element analysis, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, think about it. And they still crashing rockets. Musk ain't all that smart. Musk is not near as smart as those of us who were with the space station in the whole old days. These guys are just tech bros that make money off of you guys. Anyway, I'm out of W. I love when Egberto gets riled up. Don't call me an angry black man, though, LBW. You know I love you, girl. La profesora LBW. She makes the future go forward. LBW makes the future go forward. Let's give LBW a big hand and a big thank you for being a teacher. Thank you, sis. You are a teacher. We love you. And for any teacher in the house that I haven't yet saluted, you know I salute you every day, baby, because you guys make the world go round. Crashing rocket parts of investment and trial. No. Again, that's why I tell you about educating yourself, Leader Bearcat. With the type of simulation and supercomputers we have, we can crash a lot less rockets, okay? And we can do a lot better with the environment as well. Hey guys, it's the weekend. I thought I was going to do easy. I got a lot of writing to do this weekend. But anyhow, we're going to be here. Anyway, please, folks, you can reach me at info@politicsdoneright.com. You can get to the newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And I'd like to ask those of you, look, I'm going to put a plea in here. I need paid subscribers. I honestly need paid subscribers. We're on fumes. I need paid subscribers. If you have the wherewithal to become a paid subscriber, I want to ask you to become one or encourage a friend. Let them know that you know of a great show that's not only doing programs on KPFT online and writing articles and making sure to populate the progressive base. Tell them support us. Help us move the message forward. And I can only do that if the subsidies that I get with having paid subscriptions are realized. So I ask those of you who have the wherewithal to do so, please, if you're on Substack right now, click that subscribe button and please consider becoming a paid subscriber. If you are not, you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
all of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate